One introduction. Rosep view: the United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building, for just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut-down and burned tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove, and International Convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure of wood burning emissions data from climate goals does not mean wood burning emissions do not exist. Rosep view: PurpleAir PM 2.5 monitors hanging from the eaves of the house of a near neighbor should be used to measure the level of PM 2.5 in the air hyperlocally in the yards of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners. If PM 2.5 levels exceed World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter annually, then that evidence of air pollution from wood burning should lead to the shutdown of that indoor residential wood burning appliance, one appliance at a time if necessary. Episode 57 DFZ March 29, 2025. JD Vance: whining echoes Trump ignores public health at 5th year COVID. In episode 57 DFZ 1A, United States Vance rips hit piece in Jewish Insider. 1B, United States threats to public health at every angle. COVID anniversary, pandemic revisionism, and chronic diseases. 2, Montana University of Montana tribes join forces to protect air quality. The University of Montana Montana Climate Office and Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes CSKT joined forces to install the first comprehensive PurpleAir network across the Flathead Reservation. 3A, Wisconsin AG we intend to take legal action against Elon Musk. 3C, Wisconsin Madison Musk presence in Wisconsin Supreme Court race. 3D, Wisconsin as Democrats rail against Musk. Republicans shrug. Both Republicans and Democrats think Musk will help them win a key race, the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Next week, a group of protesters outside venue, many of whom hold signs criticizing Trump and Musk. A protest outside a campaign event for Brad Schimel, the conservative candidate in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race in Eau Claire, Wisconsin on Wednesday. 4 headlines. The New York Times, March 29, 2025. Main content. 1A, United States Vance rips hit piece in Jewish Insider. Rosep view: in the Signal group chat, Vance disparaged traditional Democratic allies of the United States. Vance doubles down on his Signal comments and adds a Trumpian whining to the mix. Get out the tiny violins. Vance is not concerned with real problems facing the American people, such as the threat to public health of bird flu and the need for vaccines, which alternatives in support of public health are being stripped away by the Trump administration. Excerpts edited by Rosep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization, The Hill, March 27, 2025. Vance posted on social platform X this morning: Jewish Insider editor-in-chief Josh Kraushar ran a hit piece against me in Jewish Insider, which has become an anti-JD rag. The Jewish Insider published the news article Thursday under the headline "The Vance Reluctance to Support Houthi Strikes Concerns Some Leading GOP Senators," with the subheading "Several GOP Senators Told Jewish Insider They Are Concerned the Vance Isolationist Worldview May Reshape the Direction of the Party." Donald Trump Jr., who advocated for Vance to be the Trump running mate last year, defended the Vance in the Jewish Insider piece and shot back at Republicans who spoke anonymously about Vance, calling them cowardly neocons. The fact that they are too cowardly to do that is exactly why I am so happy that these rhinos are a dying breed in our party, Trump Jr. told Jewish Insider. 1B, United States threats to public health at every angle. COVID anniversary, pandemic revisionism, and chronic diseases. Rosep view: this public health-oriented newsletter concludes with a vignette about an anti-vaxxer who is coaxed to provide vaccines for his entire family because of legitimate health concerns unmet by any other means than vaccination. A refuser was actually a future vaccinator. Excerpts edited by Rosep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization, Your Local Epidemiologist newsletter, March 28, 2025. This month marks the 5th anniversary of the COVID-19 pandemic. This is a dark moment for the field of public health. It is also a dark moment for the American people who bear the consequences of broken systems, sky-high healthcare costs, high chronic disease rates, mounting fears that we are completely unprepared for the next pandemic, and a fractured information landscape that forces them to crowdsource health advice on social media. The COVID-19 aftermath is real. This moment is not just about public health. It is part of a broader reckoning with trust, authority, and expertise. But the timing, just years after a global pandemic, is no coincidence. This week, an $11 billion cut slashed local and state public health infrastructure with literally a one-day notice. What does this mean to you? Turns out a lot want a modernized system to check your immunizations instead of digging through old records. Public health can no longer upgrade immunization information systems. Want your mayor to save money and lives by addressing the opioid epidemic? Public health can no longer upgrade disease surveillance and reporting. Want faster blood test results? Public health can no longer carry out major lab renovations and modernization. Want to better track measles to protect your family? Public health can no longer conduct wastewater testing. Want your grandma in a nursing home to live a long, healthy life? Public health must discontinue infection control education for nursing homes. The media and political narratives frame these cuts as simply rolling back COVID-19 spending. Yes, the funding was allocated in response to the pandemic, but it was used to address long-standing vulnerabilities, issues that affect every public health topic, not just COVID-19. Public health is inherently cross-cutting. Strengthening one area strengthens the whole system. Other things that have happened just this week include mRNA vaccine technology is being questioned despite its revolutionary impact on medicine. Long COVID research shut down, which was discovering pathways and treatments for chronic fatigue syndrome. In general, 5 top CDC officials resigned. Fueling the dismantling of our public health infrastructure is pandemic revisionism, the rewriting of history from the comfortable vantage point of 2025, where we now enjoy the benefits of immunity, scientific knowledge, and hindsight. Just last week, the Daily podcast gave political scientists 45 minutes to argue that non-pharmaceutical interventions, lockdowns, masks, quarantines did not work, or worse, were deliberately implemented by public health officials despite knowing better. This narrative is far from the truth. Consider these pivotal questions that challenge revisionist thinking. If lockdowns do not work, why did they succeed in New Zealand and Australia? If masks are useless, why did flu nearly disappear? If quarantines are ineffective, should we stop using them for measles? These interventions are not relics of COVID. They are the same tools we rely on today for bird flu and measles, yet we see alarming examples like the Florida approach to measles in schools. In the first year of the pandemic, we faced a crisis with literally no vaccine, no treatment, terrible diagnostics, no surveillance system, and no federal plan. Outbreaks where widespread hospitals were overwhelmed and people were dying. This was our reality. We must be able to hold 2 truths. 1, mistakes were made. 2, public health demonstrated remarkable resilience. Revisionist narratives often erase the second truth. Public health has always been underfunded and understaffed, a system not set up to succeed, and we are doing nothing to fix that infrastructure. Now, the chronic versus infectious disease battle. COVID-19 also brought in its wake the false pretense that public health does not focus on chronic health, nutrition, or other key issues that Americans care deeply about. The U.S. has entire centers of research and practice dedicated to diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, chronic disease, and mental health. The 22 Healthy People 2030 goals for public health prevention focus more on chronic diseases than infectious diseases today. Do not be tricked. These cuts today dramatically impact chronic disease. 2, sidelining scientific advancements like in diabetes and cancer research, cutting USDA programs that support healthy eating at schools and local farmers. What we are seeing today is not careful reform. This is a sledgehammer approach with little regard for the real-world consequences. The only thing holding the public health system together is the unwavering workforce commitment, with one clear mission of healthier communities. But how much longer can that last? A poll this week found 75% of scientists are considering leaving their jobs. Americans value the people who protect their health. The top 2 trusted sources of health information are doctors and public health departments. 88% of Americans still believe in routine vaccinations. Grassroots efforts are mobilizing, and bipartisan support is emerging against big lobby groups that undermine health. This COVID-19 5th anniversary is different. It has not been about looking back to learn for the future. It has been about surviving the present and preventing with all our might the Trump boulder from rolling back down the hill. Your local epidemiologist YLE reaches over 340,000 people in over 132 countries with one goal: translate the ever-evolving public health science so that people will be well equipped to make evidence-based decisions. On a personal note, I spoke with a family in clinic last week who said, "We do not immunize our kids using your YLE data." I neutrally spoke of the measles outbreak and the personal risks the kids in the room faced. I finally said, "Think about it. I respect your choices, and you must know we will always be available. We can keep a set aside just for you." A week later, they came back for vaccines. This committed refuser was actually a future vaccinator. The right-leaning science suspicious fringe community are not a uniform block. Perhaps they too are getting a bit skeptical of the anti-science fringe. 2, Montana University of Montana tribes joined forces to protect air quality. The University of Montana Montana Climate Office and Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes CSKT joined forces to install the first comprehensive PurpleAir network across the Flathead Reservation. Rosep View, Montana is installing PurpleAir PM25 monitor networks to monitor wildfire smoke and to monitor in one instance the PM2.5 emissions from a coal-fired furnace in a high school. That monitoring at a high school resulted in the school replacing the coal-fired furnace with electric heating, which may be a series of heat pumps which work down to 40 degrees below zero and also serve as air conditioners. That would be the most rational replacement of an antiquated and polluting high school heating method, but the replacement heating method is not named in the article. Of course, residents against wood smoke emission particulates would like to see any wood-fired furnaces also replaced by heat pumps in Montana. And maybe in the future, PurpleAir PM25 monitors hanging from the eaves of houses of near neighbors of indoor residential wood burners could be used to show air pollution levels over World Health Organization standards of 5 micrograms per cubic meter, and that evidence of air pollution from wood burning could be used to shut down all air polluting wood burning appliances in Montana, one appliance at a time if necessary, since wood burning is 90% PM2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lungs, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early death. Stopping wood burning could save lives in Montana and lower medical costs for treating the diseases that wood burning PM2.5 causes, beginning with lung cancer. Excerpts edited by Rosep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates of 501c3 nonprofit organization. University of Montana News Service, March 22, 2025, Missoula, Montana. Blending Western science with tribal knowledge, the University of Montana and the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribes are working together to build infrastructure to combat the growing threat of wildfire smoke exposure in Montana. The Montana Climate Office and CSKT joined forces to install the first comprehensive PurpleAir network across the Flathead Reservation. Affordable PurpleAir monitors collect real-time air quality data, providing communities with the information they need to know about local conditions and how they compare to national air quality standards. The data generated by the Air Quality Network are publicly available to health researchers statewide who are trying to understand the unique health implications of smoke exposure. These trailblazing efforts are helping create a model for Montana to take steps toward improving its air quality in the ongoing fight against wildfire from spark to spread. The CSKT Air Quality Sensor Network plugs into a larger initiative by the tribes known as the Climate Change Strategic Plan. The plan is one of the first tribal programs in the U.S. to generate a framework for community climate change adaptation. The CSKT Climate Program Director leads the Climate Change Strategic Plan. The first iteration was completed in 2013, and updates will incorporate even more tribal knowledge. The tribes applied for funding from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, specifically its National Integrated Drought Information System, NDIS, and was awarded financial support to help get the air quality network up and running. The Flathead Network plugs into an effort by the Montana Department of Environmental Quality to improve air quality monitoring across the state. The first 7 air monitors the tribes received were donated by a doctor with the Montana Health Professionals for a Healthy Climate, an organization made of healthcare workers who recognize the Flathead unique vulnerability to smoke. As of 2023, thanks to NIDE's funding, there are 30 monitors installed at a majority of the school's fitness facilities and tribal health clinics on the reservation. Our High School was one of the first on the Flathead to get a PurpleAir monitor due to concerns about wildfire smoke impact on outdoor activities of students. With the fun new device, the students came up with the idea to use the monitor to track PM2.5 particles emitted by the coal-burning furnace of the school in the winter. Equipped with information on the harmful air particulates coming from the furnace, students went to the school board to petition for an updated heating system. They even helped to write some grants needed to fund it. And our High School updated to an all-electric heating system in 2018. The PurpleAir data transcends math and science classes. It allows the students to dive and see what is happening in real time and learn as they go. The newly deployed network plugs into a nationwide map, which allows students to compare their experience to other places impacted by wildfire. Recently, classes looked at how the Los Angeles LA fires compared with the historical data of air quality on the Flathead during wildfire season. Students and teachers across the reservation also are working on a system to report the daily air quality level to the Flathead community. With both the statewide and reservation air monitoring networks in place, consistent real-time data will help health professionals understand what frequent and at times extremely high smoke exposure means for the human body. In the event of poor air quality, health professionals echo that the best thing people can do is stay up to date about both wildfires and air quality in their local area. Collective efforts among researchers, tribes, and statewide professionals are creating a robust air quality monitoring network that can set an example for other Western communities impacted by wildfires. PurpleAir is truly a citizen monitoring system. It provides individuals and communities an opportunity to take responsibility over how they prioritize their public health outcomes. 3A Wisconsin AG states that we intend to take legal action against Elon Musk. Excerpts edited by Rozat for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. Raw story, March 28, 2025. Billionaire Elon Musk on Friday announced plans to travel to Wisconsin over the weekend to hand out 2 separate $1 million checks to people who had voted in the upcoming state Supreme Court election. However, many legal experts quickly concluded that doing this would break Wisconsin state law that forbids paying people in exchange for their votes in state elections. Musk subsequently deleted his announcement and posted a follow-up message clarifying that the $2 million would only be given out to people who had signed his petition denouncing purported activist judges rather than people who had voted in the election. However, this has not stopped Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul from getting involved, as reported by local news station WBAY. Kaul said his office would intervene to prevent the Musk $2 million giveaway from taking place. The Wisconsin Department of Justice is committed to ensuring that elections in Wisconsin are safe, secure, free, and fair. He said, "We are aware of the offer recently posted by Elon Musk to award $1 million to 2 people at an event in Wisconsin this weekend. Based on our understanding of applicable Wisconsin law, we intend to take legal action today to seek a court order to stop this from happening." 3B Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul vows legal action to stop Elon Musk payments to Wisconsin voters. Excerpts edited by Rozat for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. The Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, March 28, 2025. In Madison, Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul says he will take legal action against Elon Musk over the Trump ally plans to award $1 million checks to 2 Wisconsin voters ahead of the pivotal state Supreme Court election on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. In a since deleted post on X, Musk said he would hold an event Sunday in Wisconsin and hand out $1 million checks to voters in appreciation for you taking the time to vote. But after election experts and Democrats raised questions about whether the offer violated Wisconsin election bribery laws, the post disappeared. Wisconsin Attorney General Josh Kaul did not elaborate on what kind of legal action he planned to take. The move comes after Kaul and Milwaukee County District Attorney Kent Lovern received a letter from the liberal Madison-based law-forward legal firm Wisconsin Democracy Campaign and State Democracy Defenders Fund seeking an immediate investigation. The groups asked Kaul and Lovern to review the Musk America PAC offer to pay $100 to Wisconsin voters for signing a petition opposing activist judges who have ruled against Trump, and the Thursday announcement by Musk of plans to give 2 voters each $1 million checks the group's ask call and Lovern to review whether the money awarded to petition signers violates the Wisconsin law barring election bribery, and whether the $1 million checks comply with Wisconsin lottery law. We further urge your office to take all necessary action to prevent any illegal activity from improperly influencing Wisconsin voters, the groups wrote in the letter. A spokesman for Susan Crawford, the liberal opponent of Schimel, said Friday that Musk was trying to buy off Schimel and labeled his visit a last-minute desperate distraction. Wisconsinites do not want a billionaire like Musk telling them who to vote for, and on Tuesday voters should reject the Musk lackey Brad Schimel. 3C Wisconsin Madison Musk presence in Wisconsin Supreme Court race. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, March 28, 2025. In Madison, Wisconsin, Judge Brad Schimel may be on the ballot, but Trump and billionaire Musk outsized presence in the race has made the Wisconsin Supreme Court election to be held this Tuesday a nail-biter. Schimel is a conservative. He is running against Dane County Judge Susan Crawford, a liberal, for a seat on the high court. State Democrats have held anti-Musk town halls, while supporters of Crawford have shown up at multiple stops on the statewide bus tour of Schimel, with large red and white for sale signs or gigantic checks made out to Schimel from Musk. Other interests at play in the Wisconsin race. For Musk, the court could decide on a case involving Tesla. His electric vehicle company Tesla sued Wisconsin in January, challenging a state law that forbids manufacturers from owning dealerships. Schimel has said his vote cannot be bought, but has not committed to recusing himself from the case if he is elected. 3D Wisconsin. As Democrats rail against Musk, Republicans shrug. Both Republicans and Democrats think Musk will help them win a key race, the Wisconsin Supreme Court. Next week, a group of protesters outside, many of whom hold signs criticizing Trump and Musk. A protest outside a campaign event for Brad Schimel, the conservative candidate in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race, in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, on Wednesday. Excerpts edited by Rozep for brevity and clarity in relationship to residents against wood smoke emission particulates. A 501c3 nonprofit organization. The New York Times, March 28, 2025. Outside a wedding venue in Stoughton, Wisconsin, the other night, a group of Democratic protesters unfurled an enormous for sale sign and a giant check, while a man dressed as Musk pursed his lips. It was meant to represent the millions that the richest man in the world had spent on behalf of Brad Schimel, the conservative candidate for state Supreme Court in Wisconsin, who was about to appear. Inside the wedding venue, a resident of McFarland worried Musk could take over Wisconsin Supreme Court. Musk has spent some $20 million on behalf of the conservative candidate Brad Schimel, erasing what has in recent years been a Democratic fund-raising advantage in the state. But Wisconsin Democrats are betting that a focus on the Musk role in the race will turbocharge their base, firing up supporters like the McFarland woman as they try to preserve the narrow liberal majority of the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They have put the Musk face in campaign ads and even named a statewide tour, The People versus Musk. It is also a way to send a message about what Musk and Trump are doing to Wisconsin. Ben Wickler, the Wisconsin Democratic chairman, told supporters at an event I attended in Eau Claire last week, the only places I did not hear about Musk were the campaign events for his chosen candidate Schimel. Polls show that Musk is pretty unpopular. A fact check had been added to a Musk Facebook post about long COVID. The fact check noted that long COVID was not considered a vaccine injury, as Musk had claimed. Musk has previously shared his own skepticism about COVID vaccines, posting on X in 2023 that he experienced major side effects after a booster shot. Facebook announced this year, just as Trump was set to begin his second term, that it would follow the X example and replace fact-checking with community notes. The move was seen as a concession to the incoming administration and was celebrated by Musk as a sign of the X policy prowess. For headlines, the New York Times, March 29, 2025. United States Blackstone considers small investment in TikTok. The New York Times. United States RFK Jr. turns to a discredited vaccine researcher for autism study. The New York Times. United States. What we know about the Trump cuts to the federal workforce. The New York Times. California. Trump takes aim at California 6 times in 24 hours. The New York Times. Florida tracking two-party early turnout for the Tuesday 2 special House elections in Florida. The New York Times. Maryland Naval Academy takes steps to end diversity policies in books and admissions. The New York Times. Massachusetts leaders of Middle Eastern Studies Center at Harvard will leave. The New York Times. New York. Patti Smith honored by rock royalty, including Bruce Springsteen, at Carnegie Hall. The New York Times. New York President Katrina Armstrong of Columbia University resigns. The New York Times. Texas. 4 killed and hundreds rescued from flooding in South Texas and Mexico. The New York Times. Texas. A maker of sewage-based fertilizer leaves town amid a toxic crisis. The New York Times. Wisconsin. Elon Musk says he has sold X to his AI startup XAI. The New York Times. Wisconsin. In Wisconsin Supreme Court race, Republicans shrug at the Democratic focus on Elon Musk. The New York Times. Greenland. Vance makes quick trip to Greenland, a place that does not want him. The New York Times. Greenland. Visiting Greenland. Vance finds the weather and the reception chilly. The New York Times. Lithuania. Search for missing U.S. soldiers in Lithuania continues as crews work to extract vehicle. The New York Times. Europe. Trump is giving Europe vertigo, and not just about Ukraine. The New York Times. Germany unburying the remains of the Third Reich. The New York Times. Italy hold the key anti-tariff threat leaves Italian bottles grounded. The New York Times. Turkey. How Trump is inspiring wannabe authoritarians everywhere. The New York Times.
One introduction. Rozep view. The United States government was on track in the Biden administration to reduce the prices for both clean energy heat pumps and clean energy electric cars. Trump tariffs are expected to upset those plans to prevent future air pollution and prevent climate change. The United States government should, instead of certifying wood stoves as safe when they are not safe, go forward with regulations that ban wood stove use and direct government money for use of forest refuse only. For home building and furniture building, for just a few examples of use of forest products for non-burning uses, it is well known from scientific and medical research that wood burning is a substantial source of PM 2.5 emissions, yet the wood burning industry uses the scientifically debunked theory named carbon neutrality of wood burning to argue that wood burning replacing coal burning in industry, and in a trickle-down argument that wood burning should continue for home heating should continue. Presumably because it is called renewable, wood may be renewable in the sense that a tree can be planted in the place of a cut-down burned tree, but it takes centuries or decades for the newly planted tree to attain the stature of the cut-down burned tree. During those centuries or decades, photosynthesis, which converts CO2 to oxygen, and so sequesters some carbon, will not take place at the same rate as photosynthesis was performed previously, and wood burning emits both CO2 and PM 2.5, and PM 2.5 is not absorbed by trees, so PM 2.5 is not diminished by planting a tree in the place of a cut down and burn tree. In fact, a living tree closes its pores against the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning, just as humans hold their breath in the presence of PM 2.5 from nearby wood burning. And when a tree closes its pores, the level of photosynthesis that absorbs CO2 pollution goes down. Wood burning emits 90% PM 2.5 particulate matter of 2.5 micrometer size, the perfect size to infiltrate the human lung, setting off a cascade of human health problems and early deaths. Contrary to many beliefs, wood burning emits 2.8 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel coal burning, and wood burning emits 450 times the PM 2.5 as the fossil fuel natural gas burning. Replacing coal burning with wood burning creates more air pollution in the form of CO2 and PM 2.5 than coal burning. This emission data comes from testing the cleanest burning wood stove in the United Kingdom, the Eco-Design Wood Stove. An international convention does not count the emissions from wood burning. The emissions from wood burning are erased from all countries around the world when calculating if each country has met its climate goals. This non-counting or erasure